Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, it's great to have you here, and if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that this lesson is a bit of a change from what I usually put out. Normally I would sit down at my desk and I would teach you phrasal verbs, idioms, pronunciation tips and all that good stuff. But today I thought, let's mix things up a little bit. So we're going to do a listening comprehension class today. And not just any class, I'm going to share a true story with you. Something that happened to me before. It's not very long, but there's a really interesting twist at the end. And I think it will take you by surprise because it sure took me by surprise. So make sure you stick around until the end to find out what happened. It's really simple. All you have to do is make yourself comfortable, get yourself a drink like I have, and just listen. Listen and see how much you can pick up. I'll be speaking at my natural speed, using the kind of words and the kind of language I use in my everyday life. And whenever I say a word or a phrase that I think you might not know, I'll pop it up on the screen with a short definition to help you out. And at the end of the story, I'll also throw in a short comprehension quiz, just a couple questions, so you can check how much you took in and catch anything that you might have missed. So about a year or maybe even a year and a half ago, I was teaching one of my regular students. I teach him once a week for 30 minutes. And this particular student comes from Japan. So in our lessons, we usually speak about various different topics. I help my student with his fluency, improving his pronunciation, widening his vocabulary, and just making him sound more natural when speaking in English. Okay? So in that particular lesson that we were having a year or a year and a half ago, we spoke about him having another English teacher. So he said to me that, sometimes when he can't schedule a lesson with me, he also has another lesson with another teacher. And I thought, that's fine, that's normal, lots of students do that. And I was curious about his other teacher. And so I asked him, where is your other teacher from? And he said to me, oh, she's from Cornwall. And I thought, okay, that's cool. Another teacher from the UK, he's learning British English. So Cornwall, if you don't know, is a county in the southwest of England, and it's famous for its coastline. It has about 400 miles of beautiful coastline, stunning sandy beaches, as well as lots of little hidden coves and dramatic cliffs. So a really beautiful place to visit. And it's also famous for Cornish pasties, and those are pastries filled with meat and vegetables. So if you ever get the opportunity to try one out, definitely do that. So anyway, we spoke a little bit about Cornwall and about his other teacher. And then my student asked me, how far is Cornwall from where I'm from? And I thought, let me share my screen and go onto Google Maps and show him exactly where Cornwall is located in comparison to where I'm from. So that's what I did. I went onto Google Maps. I shared my screen with my student so he could see everything live, just as I was seeing it. I typed Cornwall, I typed London, and it showed us the distance. Okay, so it was about 250 something miles. It's like a 4.5 hour drive. And yeah, it was quite far. So then I thought, let me show my student roughly where I'm from. So I zoomed more into London and I showed him, like, this is where central London is. This is the area where I'm from. Of course, not oversharing my location because I'm not allowed to disclose that kind of information in my company. So I just showed him kind of around my house. And I remember dragging the little yellow icon to activate the street view option. The little yellow icon, I believe, is called a pegman, or yeah, pegman. So anyway, I dragged pegman and I dropped it in a road nearby where I'm from, and I showed my student my primary school, where I went to primary school, of course, and also where I went to secondary school, because it's just down the road from each other. And also I showed him a park next to my secondary school where I used to play with my friends. And I also kind of rotated around and showed him the streets, what they looked like. And I think we spoke about how green everything was in the UK and how wide the streets are in comparison to Japan, as well as the different architectural style, because in that area there are many detached bungalows, which is very, very different from the kind of Japanese style. So anyway, after showing him all of that, naturally, I wanted to know where my student was from. I knew that he was from somewhere around Tokyo, but I wasn't exactly sure where. So I asked him and I said, okay, let's talk about you now. Tell me where you come from and let's see your area. So he said to me, okay, I come from Kanagawa Prefecture. So Kanagawa Prefecture is just south of Tokyo, not too far. I don't know how long it takes, but it's not far. And it's a really densely populated area, really urbanized as well. I think the population is about 10 million or just under 10 million. And so I said, okay, wow, looks like a really big area, really busy. Let's have a look at the streets. So I'm still in that moment sharing my screen with my student. So bearing in mind that in that moment, I was looking at Kanagawa from like satellite image. It was really zoomed out and I could see all of the streets, okay? And so I dragged the little yellow icon, and just before dropping it, I said to my student, where roughly should I drop it? Where do you live? Like north, south, west, east, wherever? And he just said central, like in the middle. And I just dropped it, okay? Anywhere. And in that moment, it opens up to this white block of flats, this apartment building, as Americans would say. And I thought, okay, I wanted to rotate and turn around a bit so I could see the road. And just as I did that, my student in the background kind of said, oh, that's my building. And he laughed. And I laughed with him, I think, because I thought, he's trying to be funny, And so I continued to rotate round to see the street and the rest of the buildings. And he, again, he repeated it and he said, no, that's my building. That's where I live. So in my mind, in that moment, I was thinking, or maybe I managed to find the street where he lives, like his neighborhood. But he was actually meaning that was his building. And of course, I didn't believe him. So he actually attempted to tell me this like 3 or 4 times, maybe even more. I can't remember exactly now. But anyway, I didn't believe him. And so I was like, what are the chances of that happening? 10 million people and I've managed to find you. Like, that doesn't happen. So I said to him, okay, fine. If you want me to believe you, I need proof. Like, I need you to show me something that's going to prove to me that that's where you live. So he was like, okay. So he's thinking, what can he show me? And then he said, oh, like a week or 10 days prior to that lesson, it had snowed in Kanagawa. And I think that's kind of like a rare thing. And so he said, I have a picture when it snowed. And he scrolled through his phone. He found this image and he turned his phone to the camera to show me. And I'm not even joking, right? It was the exact same image that I was seeing on my street view the exact same building, okay? There was no difference. It was the white building, and next to it was like a parking area. That was the image that I was seeing, and the picture that he took was of his building with the parking area right next to it. What are the chances? Like, how does that even happen? Like, 10 million people in Kanagawa, 10 million people, right? And I managed to find my students' block of flats on Google Maps randomly in the lesson that we were having. I'm speechless. Like, I'm even speechless now. I was speechless then, and I think I will forever be speechless that this happened. So anyway, that's how the lesson ended. We laughed about it and so on, and the lesson ended. But my excitement didn't end there. I could not wait to tell someone. Like, I thought, this doesn't happen. Somebody needs to know about this. So I thought, who can I call? My husband was at work, and I thought, oh, I don't want to, kind of interrupt him. So I called my brother. I called my brother. My brother picked up the phone, and I was like, you're never going to guess what just happened to me. And he was like, what just happened to you? Like, what's going on? This is like a Wednesday afternoon, right? And so I told my brother, and he was kind of excited, but his response was like, oh, yeah, right, that's crazy. Like, I don't think he even believed me. So I actually, after our phone call, we spoke for like 5-10 minutes, and I sent him a picture of Kanagawa, zoomed out, and I said, that is where I found my student's house. Like, in the middle of all of that, I found it. And then I think he was like, oh, okay, wow, that is actually really, really cool. And then the next day, I had loads of lessons with various different students, and I think I told every single one of them, and every single one of them was just as shocked as I was, okay? It took everyone by surprise. And one of my students from Portugal, well, she's from Brazil, but she lives in Portugal, and she said to me, oh, try and find where I am. Like, let's see if you can do it again. And so I said to her, okay, where should I type? So I shared my screen, and she said, type Porto. Porto is like the second biggest city in Portugal, I think, after Lisbon. So I typed Porto, and, she didn't give me any direction, I don't think. And so I just dropped it in Porto, and she was like, no, that's not where I live. But she said, oh, there's a restaurant just down the road from there where I usually go with my husband. So it wasn't the exact location, but it was close enough, and I'm happy with that. So that is what happened to me. I don't know if you guys find this interesting, but I thought it was quite shocking. And I would like to know if anything like that has ever happened to you before. If you've ever experienced such coincidence or luck like this before, let me know down in the comment section. And let me ask you a couple of questions from the story I just told you, and I want you to type your answers down in the comment section just to check your understanding and see how much you actually understood of the story. So, question 1, where is Cornwall located in England? 2, what is a Cornish pasty? 3, what is the population of Kanagawa? And 4, who was the first person I called after my class had finished? Let me know down in the comment section, and let's see how many you can get right. And don't worry if you can't answer all of them correctly. There were some times during that story where I did kind of speak slightly faster than usual. I think I was just too excited. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your week. The weekend is about to start. Take care, and I will see you again next week. And don't forget to let me know if you like this lesson, and subscribe if you want to see more. Take care. Bye for now.